What I love about Hammonton the most is the people that live here.
The people? The people are fantastic.
La calidad de las personas.
The way the community gets together.
It seemed like a sense of community.
Yeah, strong sense of community.
I love how sincere everyone in Hammonton is.
We're also rooted in tradition here.
The traditions among the town.
The arts.
Activities and sports.
The bar and restaurant scene.
Events.
Friends and families.
The small town feel of Hammonton.
I would love to see Hammonton have more biking trails.
I feel like we need to expand more on the arts.
There can be more inclusivity with everybody.
I'd like to see the diversity continue.
More outdoor dining.
More playground equipment that's updated.
Accessible playgrounds and open spaces.
Downtown they should have more stores and stuff, for people to go in.
More police officers on duty at night.
Even more artists.
I would like to see a movie theater here.
Más eventos comerciales.
More people here need to get more involved.
I think it's important to get involved.
It would be nice to see more people involved because it really is a wonderful town.
Hammonton Heart and Soul is Grassroots, an apolitical project that aims to connect people with what they love about where they live. A small group of Hammonton volunteers have worked collectively to help get this project going. We've been around town chatting with residents and having candid conversations, asking what their hopes and dreams are for the future of Hammonton. We want to collect more stories. We want your story. And we are intentionally seeking out the voices of those who are rarely heard. We seek to first determine what matters to the people of Hammonton and then use this information to steer change rather than simply respond to it. Through Heart and Soul, we hope to be able to identify the qualities that Hammonton residents really treasure. The people, the places, the experiences that make us who we are. We are just beginning our work, and we want to hear from many more of you. Once we collect and review the information, we will use this data as a launching pad for local businesses, community leaders, and organizations to steer the course of our collective future. We aim to grow in a manner that Hammonton residents will embrace and trust. We ask you to consider participating in Heart and Soul and share your insights with us. Help us to build a home we love. Together, we can help create change to make Hammonton better for all of us.
Hammonton Heart and Soul es un proyecto sin fines políticos que tiene como objetivo conectar a las personas con lo que aman sobre donde viven. un pequeño grupo de voluntarios de Hammonton que han trabajado colectivamente para ayudar a poner en marcha este proyecto. Actualmente estamos realizando entrevistas para poder involucrar a los residentes en conversaciones sobre sus esperanzas para el futuro de nuestra ciudad. Esperamos involucrar a todos en nuestra comunidad y estamos buscando intencionalmente las voces de aquellos que rara vez se escuchan. Buscamos primero determinar lo que le importa a la gente de Hammonton y luego usar esta información para dirigir el cambio en lugar de simplemente responder a él. A través de Heart and Soul, esperamos poder identificar las cualidades que los residentes de Hammonton realmente valoran, la gente, los lugares, las experiencias que nos hacen ser quienes somos. Que realizamos más entrevistas y escuchamos a muchos más residentes de Hammonton. Una vez que recopilemos y revisemos la información, utilizaremos estos datos como plataforma de lanzamiento para que las empresas locales, los líderes comunitarios y las organizaciones dirijan el curso de nuestro futuro colectivo. Nuestro objetivo es crecer de una manera que los residentes de Hammonton acepten y confíen. Le pedimos que considere participar en Heart and Soul y comparta sus ideas con nosotros. Ayúdanos a construir una comunidad que amemos.
Posted on the bulletin board, reserved for such notices on the first floor of Town Hall and mailed to 2 newspapers pursuant to law. To the rear of the council chambers, there's a diagram with locations of fire exits. Everyone attending this meeting should become familiar with these exits. In the event of a fire, you may exit this building safely. All cell phones will be silenced during this meeting, and there'll be no smoking in Town Hall at any time. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, will the Secretary please conduct the official roll call for April 6, 2022, please?
Ralph Capaccio.
Here.
Michael Hosick.
Here.
Michael Messina.
Here.
Gordon Faribault.
Here.
Mickey Palia.
Here.
Ray Scipione. Councilman Oliva.
Here.
Councilman Willerman.
Here.
Bill Brinkerhoff. Jonathan Bask.
Present.
Chris Kalani.
Here.
James Matro.
Here.
And Chairman Marinelli.
Here. Thank you. Members of the board, you have received a copy of the March 16th, 2022 minutes of the meeting. If there's no additions or corrections to those minutes, entertain a motion at this time to approve those minutes as received.
So moved. Second.
First and second, you have that, Secretary?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I abstain because while I was at the meeting, I could not participate in that.
We have 2 abstains, okay? Okay, the minutes of the March 16th meeting, 2022 are now approved as received. Tonight, we have planning board issue, Hammonton Independent Voluntary Fire Company Number 2, 51 Whitehorse Pike, Block 4601, Lot 27, Hammonton, New Jersey. Adams Raymond Hagen, file 1112113.01. Applicant is seeking approval to replace the current outdated sign with an electrical message board sign in order to provide information about events, fundraisers, and activities to the public in an efficient and effective manner. Will the applicant please come forward? Who is the applicant? Right, yes, sir.
This is a planning board matter, so I'd like the record to reflect who will be voting on this application. I believe there's going to be an abstention.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining from voting on this matter since I'm a member
Okay,
of
speak up a little.
I'll be abstaining from voting on this matter as I am a member of the firehouse across town.
Okay.
So you'll need your 2 alternates.
The 2 alternates will be,
Jonathan Bask and Chris Kalani.
okay, fair enough, Your Honor.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Applicant, please come forward. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Identify for the court.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Frederick J. D. Clement. I'm the attorney for Hammonton Volunteer
Please
Fire.
speak up, sir. There's a hand mic there, sir. Get
This-
that hand mic in. All right, we're okay now.
Okay,
Better, yeah. Go ahead.
start again.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Frederick J. D. Clement. I'm here on behalf of the Hammonton Volunteer Fire Company Number 2. As you all know, they've been a fire company that's been in the town, I understand, for about 125 years. And they've had that property over there on the Whitehorse Pike for that long. So, as you said, Mr. Chairman, tonight's application is to for the board to hear a replacement from the existing sign to a message board, I would say electronic digital sign. The property is located in our Gateway 2 zone district. Again, it's block 4601, lot 27. I believe all notices were handed to this board secretary, as well as we've noticed in the appropriate Hammonton Gazette, and all the affidavits have been provided. just for a note on the record, we initially noticed this meeting as a D variance, and then after discussion with Stuart Weiser of Adams, Raymond, and Hagan, and Mr. McGrory and Lance, our professional planner, Mr. Weiser also recommended that it be he thought it was more of a C variant type variance. And I think.
Could you please pick up that mic and turn it on?
This one?
Yeah, and I would.
You can't hear?
Turn it on there. Just press in and hold it. Light come on.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
You want me to sing?
That's better. All right, thank you.
It's not just for in here. It's because this is broadcast.
Oh, okay.
If you don't talk in the mic, it doesn't get broadcast.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what I was saying was that we originally noticed this as a D variance, and after discussions with the professionals at Adams, Raymond, and Hagan, Mr. Weiser, Mr. Landgraf, who's our professional representing the fire company, we're requesting a C variance. Mr. McGrory also had knowledge of that. So the notice also says any other variances that we would have to be required or requested by the board. So that covers that. With that being said, Mr. Lance Landgraf, everybody knows him. He's going to present the application. He's going to, put it on the record and explain the application in detail. Anybody have any questions of myself?
Give him the mic, please. Identify yourself, sir, for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lance Landgraf. I'm a professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I am the applicant's professional planner this evening.
Right to your qualifications. You've been here before many times. Please proceed.
Many times, sir. I'm a licensed New Jersey planner, AICP certified. Been practicing way too long, 35 years now.
Thank you.
Possibly Joe.
Please identify yourself, sir.
Joe Lizza. I'm the Secretary of Fire Company Number 2.
I do.
I do.
Okay. So good evening, and thank you for having us here this evening. Freddie introduced the application. We originally talked about a D1 type variance, but talking with Stuart and going through his letter, he believes that it falls under the C2 category, which is very similar to a D1 in proofs. You'll hear me talk about the purposes of the act, which is the municipal land use law, as well as the positive and negative criteria, and we still have to set aside that this site's particularly well suited for this use. So it's very similar to what you would hear if we were acting as a zoning board this evening and talking about a D1. So we're going to fall under that D2 criteria for most of these variances. I don't know that we really fit into a hardship on any of them because we meet all the setbacks. It's really not a site issue here. It's more the size of the sign and the actual digital message that's going to be on there. So as Fred talked about, and let me start off with one comment. There was a comment in one of the first letters that indicated that we are in the form-based code section of your town in the GW2 district, and it focuses on types of buildings. And a civic type structure is not really a permitted use in the zone. However, this building and this use has been here for quite some time, and it predates the form-based code. So it's an existing non-conforming building with regard to your form-based code. So I don't believe, and I think Stuart would agree, that we don't need that relief.
I had recommended that the board, assuming they are satisfied that it predates the zoning, that it be granted a certificate of nonconformity.
Okay, perfect. That way, and just so the board understands what that is, if it ever comes up again, it's on the record that it's been determined by this board that it's an existing non-conforming use. And it's a certificate that goes in the board's file as well as the construction office file. And I think Fred provided the details on that, the deed to the property when it turned in. So we do have that documentation in the file. So just so that's on the record.
And I, not to interrupt, but I'll go through that in more detail when it comes time for me to present my testimony.
Great, thank you. So what's being proposed tonight, the board members are probably very familiar with the site. There's an existing sign just to the, I'll say the west of the driveway for the nursing home. That is what advertises the site now. It puts out events, public safety messaging, things of that. It's a changeable text sign, but it's changed by hand. And it does say the Hammonton Volunteer Fire Company number 2 on it. That's actually off-site. It's not on the property. It's in an easement that's existed for many years. That's in just next to the driveway for the nursing home. They want to bring that sign back on site so they have control of it. When we asked for a copy of the easement, nobody could show us that because I think Stewart actually asked for it for documentation. We can't get a hold of anybody at the nursing home that has it. We don't have it. So we're going to bring it back onto our property and bring it back under our control. So I circled on the plan where the sign's being proposed in this red circle here. And the plan's dated, originally dated August 11th, 2021, with the latest revision of 2/28/22. It's prepared by myself with the assistance of TWT Surveying. Samuel Privatera was the surveyor on the project. You see the plan as well. So what's being proposed is a 34.8, just under 35 square foot digital sign, digital changeable text sign. Electronic message board is another terminology for it. The ordinance permits up to 120 square foot pylon signs or an 80 square foot monument sign. We're neither of those, but I mention that due to the fact that we're underneath both of those sizes that are permitted. We're 35 square feet, two-sided, which is standard, but we are well under the maximum number of square footage that's proposed. The sign complies with the maximum width of 8 feet. Its height is a little bit taller. We're about 9.35 feet to the peak of the sign. As you can see, it comes up a little bit in the middle. Not a lot, just a little bit. Its maximum height is permitted at 8 feet, and we're at 9.35 feet. So we're just a little bit taller than what your ordinance permits. The second non-conformity with the design of the sign is sign clearance is required at 7 feet. We're proposing it at 5. That's to the bottom of the sign to the ground. So it's going to be right along our property line, so it's not really in an area that'll be people will be walking. So it's not something that's near a sidewalk or near areas where pedestrians will be operating on the property. We're going to remove one of the parking spaces next to this site, next to where the sign is, so we get it back off the roadway. So we're not in any of the site triangles for the state highway, White Horse Pike. Our maximum letter height in the sign will be 6 inches, which is below or meets your standard in the ordinance. That will be digital, but we will make sure that those sign letters do not get bigger than 6 inches. We do need a design waiver for the support of only one pole. The ordinance requires 2 poles. If you can actually look, there is 2 poles on it, but it's hidden within the base. So technically we have 2 poles holding the sign up, but it's covered with one solid wrap around the bottom. So we do need a waiver from that design standard. And again, I think that's more designed for pylon signs or monument signs that are in a site triangle so you can see under them. We're not in those areas. So we're not blocking any visions of traffic pulling in and or out of the site. And my next comment was the sign will be located outside of all site triangles on the 2 driveways. It's 25.6 feet back from the front lot line and 5 feet from that property line adjacent to where the sign exists today. Both comply with your ordinance requirements. Next item is message boards shall not exceed 80% of the total sign area. We're at 54.1%, so we're below the area of the sign that's permitted to be electronic. As you can see on here, we have the Hammonton Independent Volunteer Fire Company, and then below that is just about half of the sign will be the digital portion, and the other half will be static text that'll be mounted on the sign. So we meet that portion of your ordinance as well. And this is critical, and I know the board is concerned about this. The sign will be for on-site advertising only. We will not be advertising off-site signs. It'll only be for events on the site hosted by the fire company, as well as public safety messaging. I know in Ventnor we put out there, and most fire companies and towns even do it, anytime you change your clocks, we might not be doing that anymore according to the federal government. So we're going to have to find another quick way to remind people to change the batteries in your smoke alarms. Other public safety type announcements like that is something that we would be able to do that as well. I don't know if they're going to do time and date, anything like that, but definitely something with public safety related we want to be able to put out. I know we put out, if there's an Amber Alert or something like that, we always do that as well down in the city of Ventnor. The one section that we're dealing with is 175-61D 7F4 does not permit this type of message board, does not permit electronic message boards. So we do need, as we discussed, a variance for that, and we're thinking that falls under a C2 type because this is an accessory use to the permitted use on the site. It's not the sole use of the property. It is an accessory use, and that's how we've discussed this falling under the C2 criteria. The functionality of the site, and this is, everyone sees these now, and there's state standards, federal highway standards, that says, you know, how quickly the sign can change. It can't scroll. Some of the things it talks about is illumination. We're going to meet all those criteria. The contrast, it's got to be bright letters on a dark background. Legibility, no more than 3 to 4 lines of copy. Logo is acceptable if they're readily recognizable. And letter heights, we've already talked about that we're going to be maximum 6 inches in size. No animation, no motion, no scrolling. Those are distractions when you're driving. You want that change of that sign to be instant. You don't want to notice it. You want to see what text was up there, and then the next text is there. They can go to black screen and then come up with the next text, but it should not scroll to the next one. That's something that is distracting, because if you're driving and it's scrolling through and you're looking this way, you're not looking at the road. So that's something that's critical to the safety of it. Total length of the information cycle should be no longer than 10 to 15 seconds, and on-time and multi-part messages 4 seconds minimum. So you're popping that up again. You're keeping that information coming, but you're doing it in a consistent way that's based on federal highway standards. So for the C2 variance that we're looking for this evening, as I said in some of my opening remarks, we look at this as very similar to a D1 variance under the criteria. We have to show that the site's particularly suited to it. You have to show the purposes of the act, which is the municipal land use law, are being enhanced, as well as the positive and negative criteria that were not a substantial detriment to your zone plan or zoning ordinance, and were not a substantial negative impact to the character of the neighborhood, or really the character of the neighborhood is what I've really focused on. So case law supports these type of legible signs, these digital signs. You see them all over. If you notice driving up the Parkway, the Turnpike, and a lot of state highways throughout our region, they're all going to digital signs now, because they're easy to change in an emergency especially. You can get a sign changed up there immediately. You're not out there with changeable text putting in, you know, fire up on 206 today, don't drive up 206, something like that. You can change that immediately and get messages out. We think the site's particularly well suited. The firehouse has been there for quite a long time. We do need advertising for the location of it, for our events that are being held at the site, and its specific location along the White Horse Pike provides access to a lot of our community, as well as I still think I'm out here. I said our community. I still think I'm part of Hammonton. I'm sorry. It does. As I said in the past, if I could hear the ocean from here, I would live here. But it's a good location for interaction with the public, the motoring public, locals and regional, to get information out to those motorists. Where we're located on the site is outside of the site triangles. It's not in anybody's way to see traffic coming or going on the White Horse Pike. I talked about some of the announcements and town events, if it's something that the town wants to do. Smoke alarm battery replacement reminders, community alerts, public safety advisories, traffic advisories, and other as-needed community and emergency alerts. That's the things that a lot of firehouses do to promote events in the city, as well as events on the site. I talked about the aspect of that it relates to a specific piece of property. It has frontage on the state highway. The sign's replaced an existing sign. It's a little bit outdated. It's a highly visible location for both local and regional motorists. The site visibility is excellent. It's not blocking anybody's view. There's no homes or other businesses that this sign will be in front of. So I think those are all items that go to the site suitability. The positive criteria, I think we fall under two of those items. Purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in a state in a manner that will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. I think by allowing this sign, it helps the firehouse certainly to promote their events. They're a volunteer entity. They need to raise money. That's what their events are for. The spin of that is that we will also be advertising public safety announcements that I talked about with various items throughout the town, with public safety, with smoke alarms, not security events, but various alerts for events that might be happening in the city related to public safety. Purpose H, to encourage location and design of transportation routes which will promote the free flow of traffic. The signs that are designed today do that. They're easier to read. When the signs are changing on a rapid basis, it's easier to pick up more information on those signs than it is if this was a static sign and the letters are all crunched together. This can be done in a very easy way. The messages are clear, and it does not, it's been said by the federal highway traffic standards that this is a safe way to inform the public and the motoring traffic passing the site. From a negative criteria, I don't believe the variance will be a substantial detriment to the public good. No impact to adjacent property owners. We're not obstructing any views of those property owners. Will not interfere with or obstruct site triangles. Certainly well off the right of way, and can be compatibly designed with the building and other signage on the site. Sites within a commercial center, adequate signage is critical to these emergency services, and the surrounding uses are commercial in nature with no residential uses in the immediate vicinity. With regard to the intent purpose of your zone plan and zoning ordinance, I think this will assist in a viable public safety facility. It will allow that facility to advertise its events, more efficient fundraising. That's what these volunteer agencies need. They have to generate these dollars because honestly it saves money for your taxpayers. The more money they can raise here, the less they come to the town for dollars that might be needed. And they do certainly provide a needed service in the community. Your public safety membership is just something that, you look at these guys as how much they volunteer. Our guys are paid down the shore. For people to come in and do this for free as a volunteer is just pulls at your heartstrings sometimes. All of you guys have been in this town long enough. You've seen fires. You've seen these guys come to places and run into buildings where everybody else is running out. So I think this certainly is something that helps this entity raise dollars, and it's not a substantial detriment to your zone plan or zoning ordinance. And I think we can grant this variance without that having a concern with this board. And I believe that's all I have. I come to the end of my notes, so I must have said everything I wanted to say. Anything else, Fred? Any questions? It'll be taken down, be removed. Yeah.
Is there any problem with actually putting the street address of solely onto the sign?
Can we add that to the top of the sign, the street address?
Yeah, they get vinyl if we want. Yeah.
We can certainly do that. Helps the fire department find the location, right?
I'm interested in your definition of what you consider a beneficial use, and would this be that?
I don't know that this falls into inherently beneficial. I actually have done some other cases recently that were inherently beneficial. Churches, hospitals, things of that nature. Maybe the structure could be, but I don't know that the sign, I would have a hard time.
Not the sign, the use of the property.
Oh, public safety building? Absolutely is inherently beneficial use. So I got to be complete. I struggle with form-based code. I have a hard time basing a use on a property on the style of building that it's in. So this is the only town I deal with that has it. I don't know if Stuart has in other towns that he's dealt with it in. I think there's one other one in the state.
I try to discourage it, frankly, for those same reasons.
Yeah, it's hard to fit a use based on the type of building you're in, and that's how the form-based code is set up. It's hard to fit a use based on a style of building. That's about all I can say.
And the type of sign, the form-based code requires what, a monument? Or
Monument or a pylon type sign. There's that. If you look at Stuart's report, it actually shows digital representations from your ordinance. I could look it in the book too, but it shows pictures or graphic representations of those signs that it promotes.
And lastly, there's complete stipulation
Hey, could you talk up a little bit? I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. There will be a stipulation in the approval that the use of the sign will be for the purpose of the fire hall and its activities exclusively, No off-site advertising of any off-site uses.
No off-site advertising, that would be another variance. That would be a billboard.
It would be a different use.
It absolutely would be. Yeah, on page, looks like page, no, I can't find the page. 7 of Mr. Weiser's report at the bottom, it shows the two different types of signs. Well, it shows a monument sign there, and then a pylon sign. Pylon sign, I would say, looks like the Walmart sign, and a pylon would be,
The monument sign would be.
probably date myself, the insurance building on the corner. It's not an insurance building anymore, I don't think.
Lance, you had said that an information cycle had to last, was it shorter than 10 to 15 seconds? So
That's as long as it could be.
That's as long as it can be. Yes. Okay, so if something comes up, it's on for 10 or 15 seconds, and then it changes?
Correct. So if it would be, I mean, you can leave it stagnant.
Right.
You just want to put something out, like if there's some event going on right then and there, you want to say, all right, stop here tonight for this. You can just leave that on, because then it's just a mess, a sign.
Right.
But if you're going to change it, you want it on for a certain amount of time, and then you want it to change immediately to the next one.
Okay.
And it would comply with the New Jersey State
Yes.
Department of
Right.
Transportation.
It's actually the federal. They set it up. And I learned all that from the town's former traffic engineer, Jerry Canner. He was the guy that put me onto all that stuff.
And fire department obviously has that information.
Yes,
and is ready to
programs.
adhere to.
When you buy these signs, and I learned this the hard way down in Ventnor when we put it on our firehouse, it comes with the program. It's built right into it. It tells you when to rotate the signs, and it does it automatically.
Okay.
What's the hours of operation of the sign?
It'd be
Did I
24,
miss that?
24/7.
Oh, 24/7.
24/7.
Okay. And only information that pertains to the fire company. will be
That's
on.
correct. That's correct.
Members of the board, any other questions?
I'm a little puzzled. I got a solicitation to support this.
I have not seen that. I don't know what that is.
And, well, among the things it says that puzzled me by a bit is that Diamond Sponsor for $5,000 gets 6 months of advertising on the sign. Platinum Sponsor gets 5 months of advertising. Gold Sponsor, 4 months of advertising. You get the picture. I don't need to read them all.
They would not be allowed to do that. I don't know where that, I did not see that. If they would have asked me about it.
I've seen it too, and I really have problems with this whole thing. Like, from what I saw, not on your application, but outside of your application, it looks like you want to do a lot more than what your application says.
No, thank you all. So no, that original mailer went out when we originally were trying to raise funds for the sign. So we do not, first of all, we did not reach any of those levels. And also, we never had the intention to advertise on the sign. We originally had the intention to recognize those who donated to make the sign possible, but we never made it that we were going to promote any local businesses on a continuous basis. That was never the plan. The plan was that we constantly upgrade the building. We want it looking good. We wanted to make the town proud. We spent a lot of money on the way the building looks. We're going to repave parking lots. We put the money in. Frankly, the sign that is currently in place, as stated, it's not on our property. It's outdated. It's very hard to change. This is just going to allow us to have something that we feel looks better. It's an investment from our members. It's an investment to the community to put this up. As mentioned, the software will allow us to, so I would control the software. There's training. There's limitations that we can put on it so that we don't go against any of the policies. And then it's there. I mean, if we had to put, like I said, it's really our events, and we really just think it's going to look better on the pike. We've been promoting our events consistently throughout with the existing sign, and we've never put businesses on there. It's always been for the support of our fire company and events that we participate in. So, yeah.
I have a question also. Also, even in your application, your reason, I mean, some of the things that you say in here that you want to use are so broad that you can pretty much use that sign for anything you want.
Under Under the relief that we're asking for, under the application we're asking for,
That's
we
what I'm talking about. The application is so broad.
cannot advertise something that is not happening on that property.
What?
We cannot advertise something that's not happening on that property.
It doesn't say that in your application.
I'd have to take a look at it, but what are you referencing?
Yes, sir.
First paragraph did.
Say, I'm reading, so I'm going to read right here. Propose to erect.
About events, which could be events anywhere. Fundraisers, which could be fundraisers anywhere. Activities in the park. I mean, this is so broad. To me, it's just really broad.
Propose to erect the electronic message board to provide information about events, fundraisers, community events in an efficient and effective manner. The current signage is outdated and does not provide ability to alter or change the message in an efficient manner. I'm telling you, that means sign.
I'm reading what it said. I'm not arguing with you, Lance. I'm just saying, to me, it's very broad.
And I'm detailing it for you right now. I'm telling you, they will not be able to advertise anything off-site. If they do, you can issue a fine. You can have them turn the sign off. That's not permitted.
Well,
yes, sir. It would have to be.
Town planner, you have a question?
Yeah, for Mr. Lisa, am I?
Yep, Liza.
I just want to put, since this is a concern for the board, I want to put a real fine point on this. So you're not going to put up, thank you, XYZ business for donating to the fire company?
No, we won't. And like I said, we've already reached out to some of the people that donated. We did not reach some of those, whatever you want to call them, the higher tiers. We've also thanked those people separately. And, you know, we'll most likely do a press release. We'll put something in the Gazette. We'll find other ways. But I can tell you that the intention of the fire company was never to generate income or do anything by advertising businesses. It was for us. It was, frankly, we got tired of looking at an outdated sign. We want to move it on our property. And it's a commitment that we are backing with going the right way. We want to do it the right way, and that's what we've tried to do.
Thank you.
And yes, that paper went out quite a while ago when we started our efforts. So, you know, that was a mistake on our part. But it was never, it was never intended. It was a thank you message. It was not like we're going to now provide a package that now you're going to have this for the rest of your, pay money and keep it going. It was really just a way to thank our supporters, and that was all.
But that would be restricted on what we're asking for now. They will not be able to do that.
Any further questions, members of the board?
Yes. In the past, the company has memorialized the death of members and community members. Will that still be allowed?
You'd have to ask your solicitor or your...
That's the problem. Nobody knows what's going to be allowed and what's not going to be allowed.
Certainly, if it's a member of the fire department, it affects them.
That would probably fall under public service. I don't see why it would.
Okay.
The board, anything further? You have anything further, Chief, or?
No, Luke.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, we just are trying to go the right way. We think it will enhance the property. And like I think it was mentioned about if we had to do an emergency message, an Amber Alert, we have that capabilities. And like I said, we are in the package that we're purchasing. It comes with training. It comes with the software to do it off-site. So if I'm at work or I'm at home, we need to put something out that's an urgent message, we can. And there's training included, so we understand how to operate the sign in the correct manner as outlined. So, thank you.
I have a question. Do you have to be on site in order to activate the message?
No, sir.
In case of an emergency?
No, he can do it remotely. Can be done remotely.
Just to try to hit, obviously the advertising piece is a big piece for the board, just to make sure we kind of hit all of it head on. You guys have an on-site event, and there's sponsors for that on-site event, and those sponsors are town businesses. Is it going to be, we have an Easter egg hunt sponsored by business A, business B, business C that's gonna, just to make sure we hit all of the possible combinations of permutations.
In my opinion, that would not be permitted.
That would also not be permitted, correct? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Town engineer, your comments?
No comment, sir.
No comments? Okay, very good. Town planner?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We have a report dated March 9th. I understand that many of the board members may have only gotten it this morning. So what I'd like to do is walk through the important pieces. I don't usually do this, but given the nature of this application, the sensitivity of the application, and the fact that you may not have had full time to digest it, I would like to, with your permission, walk through some issues.
Please do.
So, Lance, I'm going to, if I may, I'm going to just ask you to confirm some of the things we have, just so everything is chapter and verse.
Sure.
Straps and suspenders. So the first item we have is on page 4, and it relates to footnote 12. Lance, can you just, it's our understanding that there will be a parking space or two or more that will be eliminated as part of this?
Just one, the first one right here, where the sign will kind of be on at the border of that space.
Okay. Does that impact obviously, logically, it impacts the number of parking spaces that you have on site, but does it take us to a situation where you're below what you need to have, A, in terms of our ordinance, and B, in terms of functioning of the firehouse?
I did not do a full parking analysis of the site, but losing one parking space, I don't believe it drops us below a variance level.
Okay, thank you.
So just, Freddie just pointed out, actually in your report, you show that we needed 55 and we have 65 on site.
Very good.
We're good. If we lose one, we're at 64.
The next page, page 5, down footnote 15, you and I have gone back and forth on this via email, but I just want to get it into the record again that we're going to do, you're going to do a planting plan, assuming we get approval tonight.
Around the bottom of the sign.
Around the bottom of the sign. Okay.
It's got a raised, if you look at this, it's got a raised little thing at the bottom. We'll do some plantings around it. Probably a raised bed, just so it doesn't get run over.
And the fire department certainly will maintain it appropriately. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, starting on page 5, I just want to walk you through our planning review. I think Mr. Landgraf did a very good job explaining our ordinance and our form-based code and what the problem was, but I would like to walk through it again with your permission. So we're in the GW2 zone. Permitted building types in the GW2 zone are, and we have a graphic, box commerce, pad commerce, and strip commerce. Specifically, as not permitted in the form-based code are civic uses and municipal uses. So the firehouse, if it were coming in today, is certainly a civic use. One can argue if it's a municipal use, given that the fact that it's a volunteer fire company, but certainly it's that flavor. So if they were coming in today, they would need a use variance for that use in this zone. But as Mr. Landgraf and I think Mr. DeClement spoke about earlier, this building has been there for a very, very long time. The use has been in this building for a very long time. So it, in fact, so much so that it predates Hammonton zoning, back when there was no zoning regulation. So under that scenario, the use and the building are grandfathered in to what they are now, and the form-based code doesn't apply. The way we have not seen many of these in Hammonton. I've got other towns where I have a whole bunch of them over and over and over again. Lance, I'm sure you do too. But we talked earlier about a certificate of non-conformity. And what that effectively is a certificate, obviously, a diploma that says that the use and or the structure, in this case it's both, predates zoning and therefore they're grandfathered in and allowed to continue as they are. Okay? So when I first came on board here, I worked with Kim. We have a certificate. Shelley, I don't know whether you've ever seen it. I'll get you one if you haven't. But we have a certificate that we can fill out certifying or that will become the certificate of nonconformity. That, again, goes in the file. So anything else coming down the pike for this property, it's all recognized that it's there in the current configuration.
Is that the zoning code official does that, the zoning officer?
Well, so very good question. A zoning official is permitted to do that within a year of the zoning change. So let's just say our code said firehouses were permitted, and then for some reason there was a code change and it said firehouses are no longer permitted. The firehouse would have up to a year for the zoning official to administratively issue the certificate of nonconformity. After a year, it can only be done by the zoning board. Now, it's not a D variance, so it's a procedural thing that only the zoning board can issue.
So we do that as part of our approval?
Yes, that would be my recommendation. We're on page 6, moving along. Item 4 on page 6. 175, 161D, 7F4 does not permit message board signs in the downtown or gateway zones. There is another section, 161D, 7F5, that specifically prohibits message board signs in those zones. So accordingly, message board signs are prohibited in the zone. If this were a principal use, it would be a D variance. But the municipal land use law says that if it's that D variances, D1 variances only apply to principal permitted uses. In this case, we have made an interpretation, and I would recommend to you that this sign is an accessory use to the firehouse. So under the municipal land use law, an accessory use is only a C variance, not a D variance. So that's how we got from the application that originally came in for a D down to the C that we're addressing this evening.
And it's important to clarify that if we did have advertising of off-site uses on the sign, it would become a billboard, and then that would require a D variance.
D1 variance.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. So, so we have the C for the message board. There are a couple of different, I'm now on page 7, in the middle, item 5, there are a couple of different provisions that speak to, Mr. Willerman, exactly what you just said, that off-site advertising signs, billboards, any sign that advertises something that is not going on the property where the sign is located becomes a advertising sign, becomes a billboard, and that requires the D variance that we just talked about. We now have confirmation, I believe, over and over again, that that is not what will be happening here. So we're moving forward with that understanding. At the bottom of page 7, it talks about what kinds of signs are permitted in the GW zone, the GW2 zone in this case, under our form-based code. So the first sign that is permitted is that a message board can be part of a monument sign. And in the bottom of page 7, we show you what a monument sign is. That comes right out of the ordinance. So it's low. It's built right into the ground. There are no internal supports. Picture worth 1,000 words. Next page, monument signs are permitted on pylon signs in this particular zone. and they show you a graphic and an actual picture of what a pylon sign looks like. We see these all over for larger shopping centers. It makes sense to have those on the White Horse Pike. The sign that they're proposing is too big to be a monument sign, is configured differently than what a monument sign would be, but it's too small to be a pylon sign. So we're stuck with a little bit of no man's land here in terms of what they're proposing versus what could be permitted. I don't think going smaller to make it a monument sign would end up benefiting the firehouse, and I don't think going bigger, making it a pylon sign, is appropriate for this location. So here is where we are. So having said that they need the C for the message board sign, we now take a look at the bulk standards, which tell us they're going to need C for things that aren't pylons and aren't monuments. And we start that analysis on page 8. I'm just going to hit the ones that they do not conform with. So we go to page 9, and Lance, if we may, I want to go through these just piece by piece for the board.
Yep, I'm following along.
So what we did is we gave you the regulations for both the monument sign and for the pylon sign, and we figured we can discuss these and show you how it conforms or doesn't conform with both. So the first is maximum sign height. Monument sign is 8 feet maximum. Pylon sign is 15. We're at 10. Again, I don't know, since it's neither of these signs, I'm taking a conservative approach and saying they would need a C variance because under the monument sign, they're higher than that. We then move on to sign clearance, and that's the distance, in this particular case, from grade to where the sign projects. So walking under it, that would be the clearance. There is no clearance for a monument sign. You saw the picture, that makes sense. There is a 7-foot minimum clearance for the pylon sign. They're at 5 feet, so a C variance is required. Maximum side clearance in terms of allowing a clear, unobstructed line of sight for 300 feet from the stop line of any intersection of streets or driveways to the sign. We don't have that information. I would ask Lance, do you have that information?
Sorry, I was looking back at the other dimension. What was the
Okay,
question
it's
again?
page 9, the 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. Maximum sign clearance.
Yeah, I see minimum sign clearance. Where's the maximum?
No, the next one below that one,
Maximum sign apex?
above that one.
I must have an older letter, I'm sorry. Okay, so, okay, clear and unobstructed line of sight, 300 feet. Yeah, so we provided site triangles on the plan. So if you look at the site triangles that are provided nowadays are not the typical 90 by 90 you used to do from intersections or driveways. They actually start at the stop line or the curb line, and depending on the speed of the road, and we had TWT put those on the plan for the speed of the White Horse Pike going down in both directions, and the sign is well behind all of those lines.
I guess my question, though, and I saw that when the plans came in, and the site triangle is actually a different provision. Does that site triangle, the way they have it drawn, extend out 300 feet?
It's well beyond that. There are let's see. Reading it on the plan, it's a site distance of 470 feet in the westerly direction and 385 feet in an easterly direction.
470 and 385?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we conform there.
The only question I had is the placement of the sign is going to be further back than the existing sign.
It's about the same. It might be a foot further back, but it's about, the existing sign is we kind of tried to match it. So we're right about the same, 25 feet back.
Yeah, but the closer you get to the building, the closer you get to the building, the less of the sight triangle you get.
Right, the less impact it'll be.
Right. Sight triangles are measured really in this day and age from where the car is going to stop, where you're going to stop your vehicle and then you look down both ways. That's how they're measured now these days.
Right, but I'm saying the closer you move that to the building, the less you can see down the road. The further the sign is away from the building, the further you can see down the road. You're
No,
bringing
we're
it
not-
closer to the building.
We're not talking about visibility of the sign. We're talking about visibility of a driver seeing other cars.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So the further you pull it off the road,
What I'm saying is, if you have a sign that's all the way down there, I can see further down the road. The closer I get this way, the less traffic I can see.
true, but we're more concerned about safety than, we want to make sure people leaving the site can see traffic coming either direction before they pull out on the White Horse Pike.
The only concern I have is the driveway into the Heritage of the facility.
And it's,
The existing sign is full.
He don't get what I'm saying.
we have, I believe I put the site triangle on there as well. That one's tagged with a dimension. It's going to be the same dimension going in that direction, so 470 feet. You can see a vehicle shown right here in that driveway, and there's a site triangle shown from where that's required to be, and that's well in front of the sign.
More importantly, the driveway, exiting the driveway onto the pike, I think you have a sufficient site triangle to make that a safe.
That's what that diagram shows on the plan, yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on, maximum sign letter height. Now, that's 6 inches per code, and the graphics, the spec sheet that came with the sign that was submitted with the application says this particular sign could go, the letters could go up to 25.2 inches tall. I think I heard you say, and I'd just like you to confirm that you're going to keep your lettering to 6 inches.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And can we make the note, Stuart, that we can incorporate the street address into the sign at that point?
That would be part of the resolution.
Yes.
So you're going to put a
51 North White Horse Pike.
vinyl or whatever material band somewhere on the sign?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Sign. Okay, thank you. We now get to a section of the ordinance that speaks to permitted sign components. I think Mr. Landgraf talked about the solid structure base with the framework of the sign. This is sort of inside baseball. The sign has 2 posts that go into the ground, but they're then surrounded by a single shroud, single encasement. So just to be on the conservative side, we are recommending that this be not a variance, but a design waiver, just to make sure we're all covered. Moving on page 10, Mr. Landgraf spoke about they're going to conform with all of the federal guidelines. We do have some guidelines under sign illumination which is in the middle of the chart on page 10, that we don't have information on, and I'd just like to see if we can get some confirmation on that, whether the federal regulations supersede it, or whether they're the same, or how you're going to deal with it. So the first item is that sign illumination shall be arranged so it doesn't reflect, so it reflects the light and glare away from adjoining premises and away from adjoining highway. So effectively, you're going to keep the lights on your own property.
Correct. There'll be no lights other than the signage on the electronic sign.
Okay.
Right, we're not putting any other lighting on that. Right.
No sign with red, green, or blue in a beam, beacon, or flashing form resembling an emergency light will be put on, will be part of it.
Not part of this sign. There probably is one on the firehouse, though, I'd assume.
No, we don't have any.
Nothing? Okay. All right.
You'll apply with all appropriate state uniform construction codes?
Yes.
Obviously. The internal lettering or internal with sign illumination can be internal with letter cutouts or on an opaque background. You're not having any.
Yeah, there's a light.
So that'll be inside.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
I was confirming with him. The lettering that's static on the sign will be internally lit.
Okay, and with either cutouts or lighter colored opaque, okay.
Correct.
So that conforms. We talked about
Adding the landscape.
no light spillover. We talked about landscaping at the base of the sign. That would be a condition of approval. I believe, Mr. Chairman, you asked about hours of operation, and the response was 24/7. The ordinance says that the message board can only be, or must be turned off between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We believe that that would be a design waiver as well.
We would request that waiver.
What it will be then?
They wanted 24/7, right? They wanted 24/7.
That's correct. And then on page 11, under additional comments, under item C, the sign detail that was submitted states, connectivity requires line of sight between sign antenna and wireless device antenna mounted on the building by the customer. I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to assume that this antenna on the building is a rather small. Can you give us a sense? Is it the size of a ruler? Is it?
Yeah, it's a small transmitter like that would go on the building that just needs to be able to speak to the sign. But once again, that's tied into like Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So it's just a small little antenna that won't be noticeable.
Okay, thank you. So
Less than 6 inches?
6 inches?
Yeah, I would say less than 6 inches. Yeah.
Thank you. That really is the meat of our report, Mr. Chairman. Again, we have no engineering comments here, so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the town planner?
Yeah, I have two questions, and it's actually regarding the old sign. It says it's removing the sign, but there's also a planner. And then the question regarding the easement that no one can find. Should something be filed to eliminate that easement?
I'm going to defer that to, I guess, without knowing, I'm going to say without knowing who the easement is in favor of and by and between, I don't know who files what against whom. But I'll defer that to.
We'd have to do a title search and see what's of record. Chances are, if it was from long ago, maybe it wasn't even placed on record. It was a handshake agreement, but you certainly could, do some title work and find out.
I didn't know if anything had to be
Both
done
lots.
for it.
I guess it was a nursing home?
That's correct.
Yeah, you'd have to do some title work. There should be a record of that easement. If there's not, it's not really binding.
We're going to completely remove the sign from where it is right now, right down to the ground. The plant, the base, everything's coming out.
Mr. Landgraf, obviously somebody working on the plans found that there was this easement there, right?
No one has seen it.
It's just lore.
It might have been word, it might have been a handshake for all we know back
Okay.
in the day when the Zerbsters built the nursing home in the 80s.
Didn't show up as part of the survey or anything?
No, it did not. And we didn't survey that lot, we served our lot.
To Mr. Kalani's point, the sign comes down, the old sign comes down, the existing foundation comes out, and then just grass and seed, so that whole grass area will just be grass area.
Correct.
Any further questions for the town planner?
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
No, I think I've given you enough information between myself and the applicant to deliberate and
Good job.
make your decision.
Real good job.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything else? Any other testimony?
Ed, just I guess the sign is going to be installed in a pavement area. It's going to be protected by the planner. Are you guys going to consider any additional protection, bollards, anything like that for this investment that you guys are doing?
Yeah, well. Okay, so yeah, we plan to put like the raised curb. So we would do a little raised curb bed with some rocks, mulch, and a few plants just to clean it up. And you were correct, with the old sign, we would bring it down to grass and clean that up as well.
No further questions? At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Is there anybody from the public wishes to be heard concerning this application? Public portion is now closed. Mr. Solicitor, where do we stand?
Yes, Chairman, we have an application for a C2 variance to allow an accessory electronic message board. So I'm going to need a motion to grant a variance allowing an accessory electronic message board that is neither a monument or a pylon sign, because obviously I believe that requires a variance, with the conditions that have been identified in the ARH report, including the chart which on pages 8, 9, and 10 of ARH's report. More particularly with the conditions that the messaging on the sign is only for on-site activities and public safety. No thank yous, acknowledgements, otherwise would be acceptable. The sign would also incorporate a street address, and the sign illumination and background to that should follow the criteria set forth in the chart in ARH's report. I believe that are all the conditions that were mentioned. So I'm going to need a motion.
What about the certificate?
Well, I'm sorry. Actually, a second part of that motion would be a vote on the certificate of non-conformity for the firehouse itself, which Stuart has described.
And the design waiver for hours of operation.
The design waivers are all, I incorporate that in everything that's in Stuart's report. And
So I don't have to go, we don't have to tick through every one.
no, I'm not going to, just so you know, what happens here is that's a catch-all, and then I will go through those when I provide the DNR, and the DNR will outline each of those. You'll, of course, review that and sign that individual. But, I mean, I can go through all of them again from Stuart's report.
I just wanted to make sure that things didn't get forgotten.
Yeah. Yep.
Any further questions on the motion? Okay, there's a motion on the floor. I need a first and a second.
I'll move that motion.
I'll second.
First, Mr. Williman is first. And you first?
I'll second.
Second. You have that? Okay. Roll call.
Chairman Marinelli? Ralph Capaccio?
Yes.
Michael Hozick?
No.
Michael Messina?
Yes.
Gordon Faribault?
No.
Councilman Oliva?
Yes.
Councilman Willerman?
Yes.
Jonathan Bask?
Yes.
And Chris Kalani?
Yes.
How do we stand, Ms. Solicitor? We have enough votes to carry it? We have enough votes. Motion carried. And what else? We have anything further? That's it. Fire Company number 2, thank you very much. You're on your way. Good luck, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.
Members of the board, we have one resolution that is ready for adoption. That is resolution, application 6-21 Planning Board. Application of CTX Infrastructure LLC for preliminary and final major plan approval with D variance and C variance relief for 145 South Second Road, block 1201, lot 1.01. Only the people that are here for this can vote on this, correct?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
First, Mr. Flea, Mr. Messina, second. Roll call.
Could you repeat that?
Pardon me?
Me and then Messina.
Ian Messina. Okay.
Here's first, Mr. second.
Thank you. Chairman Marinelli?
I'll go last.
Okay. All right. Ralph Capaccio?
Yes.
Michael Hozick,
Yes.
Michael Messina,
Yes.
Jonathan Bask,
Yes.
Mickey Palia,
Yes.
Chairman Marinelli.
Motion carried. Resolution 6-21 Planning Board is now adopted. Tonight, we'd like to welcome back Mr. Mark Herman, a former member of the Planning Board. He's back with us again. Mr. Herman, you want to say a few words, please?
No. No, it's good to be back. Good to see everybody's faces again. I'm looking forward to working with you guys again. So that's it. Thank you for the
You're
comment.
going to speak up for us a little bit louder.
Yeah,
so we
for
can-
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Anybody else have anything
Go
for
to
the last?
Clemson, but we'll let him slide.
Anything else for the last word? Mr. Willem, you okay? Yes, sir. Okay. Meeting's adjourned.